Tantra, Yantra, and Mantra in your yoga practice. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing a bit of my experiences and learning with Tantra, which is essentially in a bigger sense, you could say it's a technique on one hand, but you could also say that it's the actual application of theory, of precise theory and knowledge and wisdom, the Tantras, which are different Shastras. We could go into different texts and essentially all that stuff. But I'm not here to talk about that specifically, whereas that is where the Tantras come from. There's various Tantras for various forms of God, and essentially as we get into that practice, we learn various Yantra and Mantra, or mantras, as people would say today, but technically it's still just a mantra, even in the plural sense, because these are the different chants of the various divine names that take us through the chakras and take us through the awakening, the whole purpose of yoga beyond just the stretches. And I also want to get into the esoterics of this, not just the exterior practice like we share on this channel, because this video is kind of like an introduction to everything else that's on the channel. It will help you understand each individual practice much more clearly, and then you can take and learn this on yourself. Look up these books. There's plenty of great teachers from the East, from India, and from the yogic and tantric teachings, various ones that you can look to find your own source and information, basically. Anyways, in this video, like I said, I want to focus on both the application and the actual techniques, and why these are not just essential, but also a part of your yoga practice. Whereas in the West, it's usually taught as a physical postures and asana, which is like your foundation, your physical reality, which you can get to a certain degree, and that's where your awakening basically can stay at. But essentially, if you want to keep raising your frequency, we need to get into sound vibration. We need to get into opening the throat chakra and the heart chakra through divine love, through devotion to God, devotion to the goddess, devotion to one another, and some sort of practice or way that you can essentially get yourself into a meditative mode. Let's just call it that, a meditative mode. Just like a mode in music, all the music that we create on the channel is modal music. And even the music that we structure with the mantra is basically structured geometrically, harmonically, so that you're getting these different harmonics activated, which begin to create binaural brainwaves and all these other sort of experiences, which I won't get into too much because that's its own subject of itself. But I do want to mention there how even the music is a yantra. If we look under a microscope, or a cymatoscope is what they're called, where they project the sound waves onto these plates and get sand and water and things, they've used different sound syllables from these languages. Specifically, Sanskrit is one of them, where a lot of the mantra comes from that we practice. And there's various languages that use chants or sounds and affirmations and words of power, all that sort of thing. And essentially, we do our best to honor each of those traditions as they're purposeful in their own rights. But here we're highlighting more of the yogic traditions and also the tantric traditions. So of India. So let's get into that sense. When there is other yogic traditions, Kemet, Tibetan, Taoism, and Vajrayana, and all that sort of stuff. But here we're focusing more on the Tantra of, again, awakening the Kundalini Shakti. Shivan Shakti is one of them, as well as the actual application of mantra, how your body is a temple. And like I said, when they project these sounds to a cymatoscope, it shows how each of these sounds will allow that structure to form into coherence, into a coherent sound structure, basically, just from certain vowels, certain intonations of these chants. If you add frequency to that, frequency also has the ability to structure water and various things to these geometric resonances. So when you have a yantra, this is a visual representation of that. And that's what most people probably don't realize, is these yantras are charged with all these mantras and all these various things. This is what gives us a concrete form to the sound of the mother that we're seeking, when we're chanting to the goddess, or when we're actually understanding, the devas and the lokas and the various dimensions of consciousness with all these those are more Vedic mantras usually, but also some of it can be, somewhere in the tantras. Tantra was always the innovation upon what the Vedas may have left out in the Brahmanical, caste systems and everything's structured and rigid and religious and all those things. And, here in Yoga Tantra Healing, that's part of our essence, is that, we've always learned from different schools and different walks of life, and not just set it into this concrete sense of it has to be the Vedic understanding of yoga, but the real Tantric and, integrating into normal society for the modern world. That's the whole purpose of exploring Tantra. So again, the Yantra is the physical representation, but the mantra is the sound vibration. And by, even scientific research nowadays, that's what I'm saying, they can confirm that these ancient sounds that were recorded by the rishis and the saints, they get these downloads, in meditation, essentially in the silence is where these sounds reside. So these are some of the highest vibrating sounds basically that we can operate from, which is why each mantra is activating a different chakra or a different petal, a different lotus essentially, to bloom from within us. And this is the more esoteric teaching, rather than the externalized form of this. All that purpose is to internalize this purpose, which is your own realization. Whereas most people will worship an external deity, and that is understood as an external form of worship, but again, can accomplish the same goal as the internal practice. So I want to make that distinction clear. Basically, when you're learning these three core concepts of Tantra, Mantra, and Yantra, which we have again on our meditations, you're getting the mantra, the music, you're getting the Tantra of the actual sadhanas that we've committed to over the years, that, these came from fruits, I guess you could say, of some of those practices, is they turn into a song form. And so, as they come to me is when I record these from various sadhanas that I've been, very dedicated to over the years. So there is an aspect of devotion and dedication to, which form connects with you the most. Some people even see these as just archetypes. And I don't want to get too caught up in these ideas, because the ideas of the mind, again, I just made a quick video on that, can separate from the ultimate truth, which is essentially Brahman, which is again your own realization of your connection to God, your connection to the goddess, the manifestation of being embodied, being individual, and yet going beyond the mind or the limits and the constraints of basically the human brain and all that sort of thing, which is ascending to, the heights of the brain at the same time. So there is that non-duality to understanding this. You have to bring the energies to a certain point, unlocking the mind, so that you can break free from the mind, where most people are stuck in a certain part of the mind. There's these certain parts of the brain that can lock us into these smaller circuits that don't fire on as much of a coherent level. So again, Tantra, Mantra, and Yantra is helping us fire on a more coherent level, activating all parts of the brain, the visual, the musical, the mantra, the devotional, the actual love for God, and the bhakti for connecting to the divinity. And then also, if we can perform those rituals with one another, then we start to get an actual real point of loving one another. It is much deeper than just the surface level. So when it comes to, again, Tantra, that is the larger body of all these teachings that come out of it. Again, Yantra, Mantra, ritual, puja. There's various songs and hymns that we could look into, or essentially which are strings of mantras woven together. And again, Tantra even means this art of, weaving, of combining, yoga being union, to unite, to yoke, to unite. What that means so clearly is that we're actually becoming one with the divinity over time, rather than, again, like I said, that external sort of out there distant experience. You're seeking some blessing in a physical form. You're seeking something, when is it gonna work out for me, when instead you lose yourself in the devotion, lose yourself in the moment of that song, of that prayer, of whatever way you find in your own practices and experiences But again, all the things we share on this channel make that easier, as well as so many other great resources out there. So I always say, don't limit yourself to just one person or one body. There's so much to explore. I'm still learning. I'm always learning as a teacher, and I'm just beginning my studies and practices on a larger level of that. So even with years of study is what I'm saying. So encouraging always to keep us all motivated and moving forward in our practices, as well as offering those and then learning from them to the place where, like I said, now we have these scientific evidences that show us if we are out of harmony, if we are out of coherence, we are stressed out, we're angry at people for no reason. We find all these reasons, but then we forget that even if you experience that backlash from the reality, you can get so into this stuff basically that the world doesn't like that. They will try everything they can to get mad at you. This is that negative entity. This is that negative spirit that so many people, we subscribe names to it in yoga. It'd be the asuras, or those negative faculties of the mind that make someone a demonic entity rather than an angelic entity, or connected to the heavens, So it's all in the quality of heart and mind that those states are achieved. It doesn't mean when you understand Tantra takes you through all emotions without an attachment to those, we're clearing all those. So even Kali Ma has that, essentially sacred rage or sacred power to cut through the demon. So that's not to say that you can't experience that, truth is like a sword and it will cut through the noise of negativity, which is meaning to stand up for yourself, speak up for yourself, protect your boundaries and all that sort of thing. And if people don't respect that, then you can let them know and just be at ease with your own life and your own practices. That's why they're so great, because essentially the world tries to take us into their chaos, and they have all these distractions. They have just so many things that people are hyper fixated on. Again, even in these practices, they're fixated on a blessing. They're fixated on something external, when the greatest blessing is your inner state of being. And that is for you to keep. That is for you to tap into. That is that no one can take from you. And they'll do everything they can to try to do that. That's when you know it's working, because now people's demons are irritated that you are emitting light from the heart. You're emitting love for God. You're emitting love for life around you, and also for yourself, which has a reciprocity. I can't even say that word sometimes. It's fine. So being lighthearted, even in every experience we take in, because this life is meant to be, again, experienced, enjoyed, enlivened, enlightened even, and as we awaken Kundalini, all these practices make so much sense in this time when we're all looking at these phones, we're looking at these devices, we're trapped in all these different, essentially, states of consciousness. Everyone's trying to be better than one another rather than unify with something, or, share their own thing. The individual and the collective experience is being neglected. And on that note, essentially, these practices are something that can bring us together in a way that's, again, coherent, balanced, as well as healing for the whole, the whole, you could say, morphogenic field of the planet is a resonance, is a frequency. And so is our bodies, made up of these different frequencies. When they say the body is the temple of the Most High, and you go to India and these temples are built like the body, this isn't to get you to look outside of yourself. These are designed to take you within yourself. And in those offerings, even, you don't have to necessarily go there, but understanding, what those represent. Even a temple outside is a representation of the temple inside. And that is essentially the whole purpose of our creation, that we are made in the image of the divine. What does that mean? In the image of the Most High. If they say all these things, even biblically, scripturally, in the West, and people will deny these things because they're afraid of the reality that, we do have a divine nature that can actually make a difference if we came together. And that difference is essentially, beginning to become apparent that, it's in a lot of these ancient practices that they've demonized. And again, what is that doing? It's because it irritates their demons. That's why they demonize it. So here, we embrace all frequencies, all, levels of consciousness, and also the ability to cut through, what is untruth. And that is, definitely, we give thanks to the Divine Mother for those lessons, and essentially all the deeper things that, these things we can learn here. So tap into some of that wisdom with us. We're only just beginning to get started on this channel, and we have so much more to share. Allah. Jalla.